resistance here, here, and here. And now when it goes up and comes back, support, and bounce to the upside. Absolutely. So we all know Bitcoin made a new all-time high just a couple days ago, basically. Now, I did pull the trigger on a short when we were above, and there's a record of it on Twitter. I posted it on Twitter the second I did it, timestamped and everything. I shorted at 66,100. So far, I'm in the money almost 10%. Now, this is a key, right? Now, when I did this short and I posted it on Twitter, a lot of people said, oh, you're crazy. It's a break of an all-time high. But one of the things that the average investor doesn't understand is the manipulation that goes into price breaks. So what I mean by that is if you look at a high pivot and it gets broken, you're going to get max amount of bulls to jump in at that point. Everyone's going to swing wildly to the bullish side. Institutions know that. So there's an incentive for them to break major high pivots, just like on the downside low pivots where you're going to get a freak out and the max amount of bears. And the reason they do that is because there's going to be volume that comes in there and they can unload into it. So I use what I call the confirmation signal, which is a secondary close above the breakout candle high to really tell me whether or not it is a real breakout or a fake out by the institution. So you can see clearly right here. In fact, let me zoom in a little bit more so we can even get closer on this. You closed above, which is okay. That's could be the fake out. What you look for is the next candle afterwards to close above that highest pivot. If it does that, it usually, and I say usually because there's always a caveat where it still could, but it usually is a true breakout if it closes above that, because institutions don't want to put too much money behind a play they're looking to have reverse. So if it gets that confirmation, its chances are, odds favor that it is a real breakout. Well, we clearly saw that Bitcoin then had a reversal candle, which negated the entire breakout candle here, and we've continued to fall down. Now, I'm not looking for a massive collapse here. My thesis, and I know I talked about this with you prior, was that I only thought Bitcoin would go to about 52,500, give or take, and then I thought it was going to repeat the cycles from 2013 and 2017. Just the mere fact that it broke the high means that you can't compare it to previous cycles. Now, it could be a new cycle where we're having a double top and then we roll over massively. But basically, I'm back to the drawing board in terms of looking for where it's going to pull back. So the short for me is a very short-term trade. I'm probably looking for a pullback to about 57.5. I'll then take that percentage gain and I'll reevaluate. I'll look to see, does Bitcoin start to move back to the highs? Does it confirm, or do we break that 57.5 and pull back? But really a fascinating turn of events for Bitcoin here on the chart. So it's always keeping me on my toes, and it is a fun thing to trade and watch.
Yeah, it's tricky. Let's go back to your chart real quick. I want to ask a couple of questions there, because your original thesis, the scene of the crime, which is the neckline of the Head and Shoulders where it broke down, Bitcoin did, break through that and then confirm and continue, like you're talking about, what we're looking for now for that all-time high. And then back in July, down at the bottom where our July low came in, we had that where we did not get a break of that resistance and confirmation and continuation down. It actually faked everybody out and broke up, and everything pointed to more downside there. And then what did we get? We got that rejection and then continuation up, which is what you're looking for on the all-time high trend line now.
Right. So you're exactly correct, right? So you had this pivot low at 30,000. You then faked people out by breaking that here. And again, that basically took out stops there. The institutions were fully intending to do that. And instead, what do? They ripped it up. So as soon as they took everyone's money who stopped out there, they took it the other way. They even did it again over here where it broke briefly 30,000. And you got even more people to say, okay, well, this is definitely going lower at this point. And then that point, they ripped it up. And then you could see this trend line here, hit it here, hit it here, hit it here, here, here. And then this is where you confirm it right in this range, right? So right here, you confirm. Look at how you retest that support. When you confirm above a level, that level now becomes support. So it was resistance here, here, and here. And now when it goes up and comes back, support, and bounce to the upside. Then we came up to the scene of the crime. We closed above it, closed below it, closed above it, and finally confirmed, which signals a move up to the next level. What's the next level? Your all-time high double top. And here you didn't confirm, and you then reverse to the downside. So the confirmation signal is something I created. It has served me amazingly well. Nothing's perfect, but it gives me a good indication whether or not is a true breakout or a fake breakout. And you might say, well, why are you looking at the 57.5 level, right? Well, take a look at the scene of the crime, right? What did I just say? I said confirmed break of resistance now becomes support. So where is that line, that scene of the crime? That's right there around 57,000, 57.5. And therefore that should actually be significant support on the retrace here. So it's all technical. Everything I'm doing is technical based on the methodology here called the PPT methodology.
Yeah. So, and what we should be looking for right now then is a test of that 57,000 level. If we bounce and continue up from there, then we may have the full, we put in a higher low, and now we've got a true higher low. And now we've got, trend reversal versus, putting in what would be a lower higher low, which is what we've done so far. We haven't put in a true higher low yet. We do have a higher high, but we don't have that true higher low yet.
Yes, correct. And same thing. So if we bounce off 57.5 or so, then what I'll do is you basically, I would cover my short there and go more into a neutral stance. And I'd look to see if we get back to 65, do we confirm above 65? If you then confirm above 65, then you have to start doing calculations. You can do fibs, you can do different things to try to figure out where that next resistance is it going to be? Is it going to be 70, 75, 80, 100? I mean, who knows at that point where it could be? Or do we get below 57.5, confirm to the downside? And now you're starting to look all the way down to the 40,000 level as a potential next support. So it's really just, I liken it to either table tennis or ping pong or pinball, where you're just playing the support resistance lines. And that's kind of the cue, which side of the market as a trader to be on or which side to look for.
Yeah. It's Bitcoin is tricky. It's I would say the bipolar test is what we got going on there.
And if I could just say this is a really important point, folks, is that this is something at the conference I talked about in some of my live interviews and my presentations, but there was an incentive to push Bitcoin up to the all-time highs going into this last week. And the answer to that is that it was the launch of the ETF based on the futures, right? So if you go back to when the futures themselves launched on Bitcoin, there was the same type of push up where the institutions that were launching the futures, you don't want to launch a product when it's tanking, right? I mean, that just goes, you want it to be popular. You want everyone to want to get into it. So you want to push it up. So you're going to create this FOMO. You're going to push price up, break key levels and get people on board. And what's interesting is within a few days of the launch, you could arguably say, okay, the institutions say, okay, the launch was amazingly successful. Now we don't care anymore. We're not going to use our own money to prop this thing up anymore. So now we'll step back. And what does price do? It starts to come in. So again, it's kind of suspicious about how it all happened. Doesn't mean it's not going to eventually break higher. You guys know I'm a long-term bull. I just think that price is probably a little too extended at this point, but it is suspicious in my opinion.
Yeah, it's obviously, definite, obvious manipulation. All you have to do is just look at the price action, which, all markets are manipulated. This one's just so much easier because lack of regulation. We saw that wick yesterday where somebody, did a market sell instead of a limit sell. And we saw what happened there. And for anybody watching that doesn't know what that is, you got to do a limit sell when you sell because you will be subjective to what the market pays as price is dropping versus selling at the price you want to sell for. So somebody got wiped out on that deal yesterday.
And that now, I think it went as low as, did it go as low as 8,000? Is that what you said?
$8,000, somewhere around there. Yeah. 8,200. So, hey, I put a market order in, a limit order in at like 10 grand just to see if I could pick one up. You never know.